Judge me if you want, but combination of TikTok and ChatGPT has made it so that I am super impatient trying to watch YouTube videos. I hardly ever actually watch them anymore. This is a confession. What I do is I have a little extension that on YouTube will give me a summary of the video. And if I need more than that, I copy the transcript and I feed it to ChatGPT. And that's what I've done with this video on how to use Codeium. Today I'm going to demo Codeium, and I've never used it before, so we're going to learn this together. So I took this YouTube video transcript and I gave it to ChatGPT. I said, hey, here's a YouTube video transcript on Codeium installation and use. Please create a step-by-step guide based on this transcript. And I just copied it down there. And by the way, feel free to do that with this video. I fully expect you to do that because it is a time saver. All right. So here is the step-by-step on installing and using Codeium. But first of all, introduction to Codeium. Codeium is a free alternative to GitHub's Copilot, which I have used before. I turned it off because I found it a little off-putting that it would complete my code and it kind of got in my way. But I think it's time to try some sort of similar thing again. So I got interested in Codeium because it's open source. It offers similar or better functionalities without any cost. It supports autocomplete with AI across all major IDEs and is continuously updated to improve its technology. Codeium is designed to be a free forever, providing autocomplete AI chatbot suggestions and error fixing within your IDE. I'm curious to see how this performs as a web developer tutor, and I'm going to try to see if I can give it some prompts and see how it will do. So that's what we'll be doing today. So why choose Codeium? You can screenshot this or pause it to read this. I think it just kind of goes over what we just talked about. Let's get straight to the installation guide. So to access Codeium, you need to navigate to the Codeium website and start the installation process there, which actually was a relief because I thought that I would need to go to the GitHub repository and clone it down from there and set it up from there. But it looks like there is a Codeium website that you can go to. We're going to take a look at that in just a second. They also have a browser playground where you can try Codeium directly in your web browser to get a feel for its capabilities before you install it, just to try it out. So that's kind of cool. It is an extension, so Codeium can be installed as an extension in Visual Studio Code and some other IDEs. All right, for more custom installation, go to GitHub repository. All right, so you can take it down from the GitHub repository. Now, I was taking a look at that, but it's good to know that there's an easier option for those of you who may not be quite as technical yet. Okay, here's the installation steps for Visual Studio Code. Click on Get Extension, follow the prompt, and install Codeium. Once installed, you may need to create an account on Codeium website to connect your IDE. Great. Then it says using Codeium Start AI Chat Assistant Custom Code Analysis. It looks like, I'm just reading this. You can use a chat assistant for debugging. And I wonder if, since it is integrated, I wonder if it can read your code right out of your file. It probably can actually, because that's what Copilot does. So that's very exciting, as opposed to needing to copy and paste the code that you are wondering about into an AI chat interface. Features and benefits, comparison with other tools. So the main comparison is to GitHub's Copilot, but of course we are comparing it to all the other AI tools out there that could possibly be used to learn how to code, which is what I'm doing. I'm reviewing all of those tools. All right, so then, screenshot if you want to read this, additional resources and conclusion. But that's a pretty thorough summary of what the YouTube video covered. Now, I said, please write out the link to the Codeium website. And the original message does not have that, so that's fun. Can you not look it up? Sometimes I get a little bit, what's the word I am looking for? Pushy with ChatGPT, because there is a point to that. Because I have found that if you are a little bit pushy and a little bit mean with ChatGPT, it will perform better. Has anyone else found that? If you have found that out there, if you agree and have had that same experience, let me know in the chat below, because I want to know if it's not just me. There are some gender dynamics at work here with ChatGPT, I think. I should write a blog post about that because I've never seen anyone remark on that, but I think it is true. And it would be interesting to put it out there and see what people say. Anywho, ChatGPT can find okay, so here's the official website. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And here is Codeium, the modern coding superpower, a free extension to Code AI. Get extension. Okay. I'm going to click on the Get extension and Visual Studio Code. Now, I could do this with Visual Studio Code itself, and maybe I'll show you that next because that might be even easier. I'm going to sign into Codeium and basically create an account with my Google. Oh, wrong account. Darn it. Let's try that again. There we go. It's a Firebase app. Interesting. All right. How did you hear about Codeium? Social media. That would be YouTube. Actually, I had heard of it before, but I think it also was on YouTube a while ago, and I didn't get a chance to check it out. Quick install. And I have to open up Visual Studio Code to do that. So let's go ahead and do that. Yes. I already said yes. Oh, okay. It's just taking a minute to think about whether it wants to do what I've asked it to do. All right. I don't want this terminal right now. Let's put this full screen and let's close out this terminal. All right. Codeium AI, AI coding autocomplete. Now, let's say that you don't know Codeium AI's website and you just go straight. Let's do it. You just open up a new window. Let's open up a new window in Visual Studio Code. Let's do it this way. So this is a second way that you can get to the same place. I'm going to go ahead and close out the terminal. This is what you see when you open up a brand new window, a start screen. And if you click on this icon, there's a little box, the box floating out of it. This is the extensions menu. And here you could just type code E, if you got to spell it right. And I think, oops. There you go. And there you are. You just arrived at the installation page inside of Visual Studio Code to install Codeium AI. So two different ways to get to the same place. I'm going to go ahead and install it. It is installing it. And once it does that, you now get a bunch of other buttons to disable, uninstall, and switch to pre-release version, which would be an earlier version. And there we go. So now I got to figure out how to use it. And here is the details. Feature contributions, changelog, and runtime status. Okay. Codeium is a modern coding superpower, a free code accelerator toolkit built, blah, blah, blah. There are many parts, unlimited single multi-line completions, IDE integrated chat. No need to leave VS Code to ChatGPT. Supports 70 plus programming languages, including Rust. So I may use this in my upcoming Rust series. I want to learn Rust. I started about 6 months ago and I had to stop. And I've been itching to get back to it because I really want to learn Rust. So I'm going to try my own procedure to use AI to learn Rust. And I'm going to document that. Should be fun. And then there's a Discord community. You can get support through that. I'm going to click on the Discord and join the Discord in just a little bit. I'll do that off the camera though. New autocomplete. Great. It is enabled globally. So I think I could just start using it. So let's go to the welcome page and let's start a new file. Let's call it Codeium test. And where are we going to put it? I'm just going to put it, actually, I want to put it in my developer. I don't have access to it from here. I can go to users. I'll just put it on my desktop for now. Okay, Codeium test is a new directory that I've just created. I'm going to close out the welcome screen. I'm going to close out this. Then I'm going to open up this. Yeah, not yet opened a folder. Try Command plus I for Codeium command. Start discussion. Oh, okay. So this opens up a chat box. It's like, I would like a folder. Is this not a folder? Open folder. Desktop. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's a file. It's not a folder. All right. Add a folder. Let's add a folder. That's what I meant to do. Codeium test. Oh, code. It's EIUM. And let's create that. New folder. Name the folder inside the desktop. The name is already taken. Oh. Test folder. Test directory. Create. Okay, here is my test directory, and I'm going to add some files in here. So I'm going to add an index.html. I'm going to add a style.css. And I'm going to add a script.js file. Very good. So this is just how I would, from very scratch, at the very beginning, create boilerplate for an HTML5 document. There we go. And now I want to hook up the files. So I'm going to add a link tag that adds my style.css and links it up to my HTML. And then inside the body, we're going to create an h1 to say hello world. And when I save it, Prettier, an extension I have installed, automatically formats it correctly. And now I also want to add a script tag with a source, and I'm going to add the script.js. Script.js. There we go. Let's add a log. Console log. Hello from the JavaScript file. Save that. Go to the style page, and the only thing we have in our body is an h1. So we're going to style that h1. We're going to give it a color blue. Why not? All right. So now let's go to the script.js and try Codeium. So it was option I to open up a Codeium. So let's create a function just to test it out. Create a function that takes in two nums, and adds and returns the addition of these two nums. Submit. Oh, all right. I might have to go to the instructions. Function. Okay, so if I hit return, it doesn't submit, which is unlike other chats where you have to do shift return to get a new line. Here, if you return, you get a new line. So you have to actually click on the Codeium submit button. Codeium start a discussion. Type your instruction here. Okay, let's enter to submit, escape to cancel. Create a class to make a person. Object. Okay, so it's not quite working for me. It does say enter to submit. Let's see. Well, this is gonna work. This test doesn't have a .js on it. Okay. That did not work for me. Let's go back to the instructions and see what we are doing wrong. Manual installation. No, we installed it. We probably have to go here to enable it. Error fetching user status. Failed to fetch. Please sign into Codeium to use the chat. Okay. I am signed in. Quick install. Let's install it from here. Because I did install it. Let's install it. Okay. Let's see if we can get to it now. Oh, that's the wrong one. Let's go to Codeium. Error fetching status. Please sign in to Codeium to use the chat. If you have already signed in, please reload. Okay. All right. Maybe we can close this window. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm doing. Here you go. That was on my other screen. Let's, do you want to save your workspace? No, don't save. Okay. I am logged in. I'm going to go to quick install. That's going to open up Visual Studio Code, a new window. And now let's see if we can go to Codeium. Okay, so your Codeium profile is ending soon. Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Log into Codeium. Log in. Okay. Extension wants to sign in using Codeium auth. Yes. Do you want code to open external website? Yes. Okay. So now it knows that I'm actually logged in and I can go back to Codeium. So welcome to Codeium chat, open chat. And when I go here and I open up Codeium, I get this box here. Let me make this a little bit bigger and close the welcome screen just to not have as many distractions. So it says welcome Alphabet because Alphabet is my Google name and I signed up using my Google credentials. How can I help you today? Codeium shortcuts. Accept entire completion, tab, accept word completion, command arrow, show next completion, show previous completion. Okay. So get the most out of Codeium by going through our interactive tutorial. That's nice. I will probably go through this in just a little bit. But let me play around with it and see if I can get it to work for me. My plan is free. Ask anything. Okay. So the chat is here at the bottom here. Can you teach me JavaScript from scratch? Starting with primitive data types and then going on to variables. Actually, let's not tell it what it should teach me. Let's say start by giving me a list of the very basics that I need to learn first. Basics, syntax, because we start with syntax. Okay, let's see how that does. And the chat is over here. And this window, because it's an extension, it looks like I can't grab it. Nope, I can't move it. Okay, sure. Here are some of the very basics JavaScript syntax that you'll need to learn. Variables and data types. Yes, operators, control structures like if statements, functions, objects, and arrays. Yep, that's exactly it. That is the list. The JavaScript syntax only really has 5 categories, I think, that you need to learn. These are the 5 categories. So if you ever get overwhelmed, just know that most programming languages, the syntax is pretty straightforward. It just takes a lot of practice to actually learn to implement all this stuff. But yeah, there we go. But so now great. Teach me about variables and data types. Now, I am purposefully not being very specific and concrete. I'm giving it fairly general prompts here just to see if I can read my mind. Great. Okay. In JavaScript, you can declare variables using var-let const keywords. There are several data types. And here are the data types and reference data types, which are objects, arrays, and functions. Big int is not here, but that's okay. Okay. Here's an example of declaring variables. Okay, primitive data types. Here's an example of a number, string, Boolean, undefined, and null. And here is a symbol. So these examples are nice, but they're not comprehensive. And when you're first learning, I think maybe it's good to see more examples. That's okay, though. We're going to figure out how to work with Codeium so that it can become the best JavaScript tutor that it can for beginners. And here are some data types. All right. Can you give me one code example that would demo the diff between var, let, and const variables? We might as well open this up because we're going to be working in here. All right, so here is some code. Var x equals 10. If it's true, var x equals 20. So we are reassigning x to 20, and then we're going to console log x. Output inside of this if clause of the body is going to be 20 because we are reassigning the variable right there. And also, if we console log it outside of the if clause, we're also going to get 20 because this change that we made inside is going to affect the variable outside. Now, this is because var is not scoped, body scoped, I think it's called, right? Now, let is scoped. So that means that if you declare y out here and you change its value in here, the value of it inside of the body of this if clause, the value is going to be the new value, the updated value. But if you console log it outside, it will still be this value that's outside the if clause because let is scoped. So anything that happens in here stays in here, like Vegas. Const. Trying to reassign the variable for const will just result in an error. It basically won't let you even do this. So whilst you can reassign the value of of y, it will only affect it inside of these brackets. Now, one thing that I don't like is that they are declaring it twice. Don't think you can declare it twice, but I'm going to actually run this code so that we can confirm all of this. So I'm going to open up my test folder on my desktop. What did I call it? Codeium test? Yes. I'm going to go to the script file. And I'm going to paste this here. Now, if I run this, I need to open up my web browser so that I can see these console logs. So I'm going to open up my web browser by right-clicking, or on a Mac, control-click on the name of your file in your file tree here in your project, and I can open up with Live Server. Live Server is another extension that you can install. And then it opens up your web page in your web browser, and you can actually see the console logs. So here is the hello world. This is spelled world. Let's put it over here. And that is because our HTML has hello world. There we go. And now it says hello world, as it well should be. And then here is our developer console, where we're going to see our console logs. So the first console log we see is hello from the JavaScript file, because at the very top of our JavaScript file, we have a console log saying hello from the JavaScript file. And then we have all these console logs. Now, it's hard to see what is going on here. Yeah, because they all just say console log. So I'm going to add some labels to make this easier to figure out. So a label, comma separated, a label is just a little bit of text that helps us to know what we are consoling. X inside and there it goes. It's auto-completing the if. Nice. And this is going to be, let's see if it knows, X outside the if. Yes. So that's Cody auto-completing for me here. Let's do something here. Oh. Let's see what it comes up with. Y inside the if, yep. And Y outside the if, yep. And now this will result in an error. And there's our error, assignment to a constant variable. You can't reassign a value. Okay, so I'm going to move this over so that we can see the console log. There we go. So on line 7, we are console logging X inside of the if statement is going to be 20. And outside is also going to be 20. But if you use the let variable to declare that y variable, inside is going to be 20, but outside is going to be 10, because any changes you make inside of the if clause are going to stay inside. And then for z, if you try to reassign the value of z, you will get this error. And ignore this. I don't know what this is about. Now, shouldn't redeclare it here. And what you're doing here, if you redeclare it, is you're creating another variable inside that has the same name. And that's, I think that's a little confusing. So this is a little bit better, I think. Okay, great. So now let's see if Codeium AI can go deeper. I'm going to go and open up my Codeium AI. Let's see if Codeium AI can go deeper on this lesson. First of all, let's see if it remembers our conversation. Oh no, conversations. It does have a place for the conversations to be saved, but it looks like it didn't save it. It's not there. We will have to start over. Can I do it? Right here. Try to redeclare const variable will result in error. Yes. So Command or I on a Mac is going to give me my little start discussion box inside the code. And I can say, can you go deeper in your explanation and examples of variables? I hit return. It did not submit it. I have to click the button. Okay, so if we're in this interface here, yeah, variable scope, confolog A, reassigning A with var. I'm going to tab to accept. No? No? Is it still thinking? Return. Accept. I see. I have to accept these changes. Okay. Covering up my microphone. I hope that you could still hear me okay. So we're going to console log A, which is undefined. And then inside, we're going to assign a value. So this example is not correct. Let's see what happens if we run it. This should be fun. Yeah. Uncaught syntax error. Y has already been declared. Yes. Okay. We have to probably comment out our earlier code. Okay. Here, we'll grab it from here. We'll comment that code out. A is undefined, then it's 10, and then it's 10, and then B is not defined. So it's stopping right here because you're trying to assign a value to B and it's not defined. Yeah, variable scope. So it's showing you that var can be changed inside of a code block. The result will still be what's done in here will affect a variable that existed outside of that code block. With B, it's showing you what's called variable hoisting. B is not defined. It's not declared anywhere, so you can't assign a value to it here. And that is causing an error. Okay, so there's code here, but not a lot of explanation. So I'm going to actually go back here and try to get the explanation and the examples in here. I think this chat might be better. I'm a beginner to JavaScript, and you are my instructor. Teach me about JavaScript variable types, variables. Okay, I'm going to just let it teach me again. Variables can store various types of data. It's important to choose meaningful variable names to make your code more readable. Okay. So now that it's giving me the basic information, can you give me an example that would demonstrate or demo the difference between these variables? Okay, so declaring a variable with let, it's acceptable to assign the value once age is declared. Here we have a const, and this will give you an error because you cannot reassign the value of a name once it's been declared. And then with var, using true and false, changing the variable value is valid. Okay, so this doesn't show you scoping, which is one of the bigger differences between these variables. So let's say go deeper on the diff. And here it does tell you about scope. It also mentions hoisting, which is another important difference between these variables, and then reassignment, which is the most basic difference. And actually, this is a nice explanation because it hits on the kind of the three different ways in which these variables differ, and it's easy to see it in this format. Okay. Is there anything else I should know? In addition to the differences mentioned earlier, it's important to understand the concept of temporal dead zone when using let and const variables. The TDZ is the period between entering scope and variable declaration when the variable is in a temporal dead zone and cannot be accessed. This occurs with let and const variables as they are hoisted to the top of their block scope, but cannot be accessed until their actual declaration is encountered. Here's an example to illustrate the concept. Trying to access name before its declaration will result in a reference error due to the TDZ. Understanding TDZ is important to avoid unexpected errors when working with let and const. Good to know. Let's see if I can come up with anything else. It's important to be mindful of variable naming conventions. Nice. And I am misspelling all over the place. And it doesn't matter. It understands me. I have gotten so messy with my typing. I've never been a good typist to begin with, but one more thing is to be aware of shadowing. Shadowing occurs when a variable declared within a certain scope has the same name as a variable in the outer scope. And that's what we had in the first example, right? We declared it twice, one outside and one inside. And here they are declaring count outside and declaring count inside the function body. In this example, the inner count variable within the upper count shadows the outer variable. The outer count variable is not accessible within the function. The inner count variable is in scope. So understanding shadowing is important for avoiding unexpected behavior and ensuring that variables are used and accessed correctly within different scopes. Very nice. And then we could go on and ask for more and more info. Eventually, I think it'll get tired. Maybe never. We'll see. Do you want to see how far we can go with just simple variables, how much there is to know? This is one of the nice things about using AI to learn new things is you can go as deep or as broad as you want in the time that you have. Okay, so it did get tired. That covers the essential concepts related to JavaScript variables. If you have any specific questions about JavaScript and other programming topics, feel free to ask. Nice. So now let's go to the next topic. Primitive data. Ignore symbol, big int, and reference types. And I'm just trying to narrow down the scope of what we're going to learn. So we have numbers, strings, booleans, null, and undefined. Those are the 5 to start with. Primitive data types are immutable, which means that their values cannot be changed. Each type has its own set of operations and methods that can be performed on it. Nice. Let's talk operations. Let's see. Basic operations and methods of strings. Concatenation, length, accessing the characters inside of a string, extracting a substring, indexing or finding the position in a substring with the index of method, two uppercase and two lowercase, trim, and split. These are just some of the examples of many operations available for manipulating strings in JavaScript. Okay. Let's get just some examples. Can I get 10 examples? Let's see how coders use at giving examples if I give it very specific instructions. So can I get 10 examples of each data type that covers all the possible permutations of that type? So with strings, give me numbers, I can also, if I'm not sure if I'm being clear and I want to make sure that it understands my explicit instructions, I can say, ask me questions until you feel confident. You can give me a Got it. Let's start with strings. Here are 10 examples. Strings I'd like a definition of strings, but I just asked it for examples, didn't I? So what is a string? A string is a collection of characters bounded by quotes. It could be single or double quotes. And characters include numbers, letters, spaces, and symbols. That is how you can have a string which has a space in it. And that is a valid string that will resolve to truthy. If this doesn't make sense, ignore it, but it will resolve to truthy because if you check its value, its Boolean value. But a string with nothing in it, such as this, an empty string with no space in it, nothing, this will evaluate to falsy. Fun facts. All right, there's another string. Numbers that are inside of quotes are strings, not numbers. They will act as strings. Booleans can be true. Booleans also can be strings like false. Well, this is not a Boolean. It's a string that says true. The word true. It is not the Boolean value true. You can have spaces. I think this is good. Yeah, that example does cover strings. Yeah. Yes. Yes, this is good. Can you now do numbers? Numbers are just what you would expect them to be. For mathematics, the numbers in JavaScript are integers. They can be positive, they can be negative, they can be decimals or floating point like this, and those can also be negative. You can have exponential notation. So this is a little bit further than a beginner would need to go unless they're working with mathematical applications. There's a bunch of different other things. There also is a primary number type called not a number. If you check what type of thing this is, it is type of number, but this just means not a number. If you try to add, for example, a string to a number using the plus operator, you're going to get not a number. If you try to operate mathematical operations with mixed types of number and something else, you're going to get not a number. And then there's something called infinite, which is really cool and weird, and we don't need to get into it. But yeah, this covers a wide variety of number of permutations. Let's ask it for Booleans. Now, there's only two types of Boolean, so this should be short. And it's actually going to get, oh, that's nice. Okay, so it gives you the two types, true and false. But it also shows you how you can evaluate using your mathematical operators, your arithmetic operators here. This will evaluate to true. So is 5 greater than 3? Yes. So this is true, and it will evaluate to true. If you console log this, let's do it. I'm going to go to my terminal here. I'm going to write console.log. Oops. And I'm going to put that mathematical operation. And this will actually execute in here. So there we go. It evaluates to true. Is 10 strictly equal to 5? It is not, so this would evaluate to false. It also shows you the bang operator and the double bang operator. We haven't covered operators yet, so it's just trying to give you 10 examples because I asked it for 10 examples. But really for Booleans, there's only 2 examples, true and false. I know there are only 1 version of undefined and null. But can I get those two examples? And maybe it's hard to type and talk at the same time. Description of the diff between these two. Certainly, here's an example of undefined and null. Undefined, the output for this will be undefined. And then we have null. Undefined is like if someone asks the question, what time is it? And nobody answers. The question is out there, but it doesn't have an answer or a value yet. So this is like an unanswered question. Null is a question that is answered in negative. So if someone says, what are you doing? And you say nothing, that is the structure of null. It's a question that has been answered in the negative. And null has to be explicitly set by a developer. And there are a number of reasons why we might want to declare a value and set it to null. But that is what that is. So undefined is used when a variable has been declared but has not been assigned a value. And null is used to represent an intentional absence of any object of any value. Any object. Oh, no, So in other words, undefined is simply the value of a variable that has not been initialized, while null is used as a specific value to indicate the absence of value. Nice. Let's see if I can take from here and see what should I learn. Oh, let's say, is there anything else I should know about primitive data types? Go deeper? Yes, so there's a lot further that you go with these data types. Each data type has its own properties and methods. And here it talks about type coercion, which is a very important topic. I'm not going to read through it, but you can screenshot or pause and read. Equality comparison, so strictly equal versus, these are operators though. And then immutability, which is important. Primitive data types are immutable. That will come up a little bit later when you learn about passing by reference versus by value. But just put a pin in this and you'll come back to it. So I can ask for, can you give me a table of basic properties and methods for each type? Let's see if I can do that. I don't know if I can give me a table. Oh, I can. It's just hard to read in this environment. Let's see. Booleans don't, null doesn't, and undefined doesn't have methods and properties and methods, but numbers and strings do. So here are some things for strings, and here are some things for numbers. And I could ask it to go deeper and explain to me these as I go if I want to go deeper and maybe even get some practice problems. Let's ask for some practice problems. Now that we know about variable types and primitive data types, need some low risk, easy practice problems using variables and primitive data types. One problem at a time, and only use these topics since I'm a beginner and know nothing else yet. Nothing else. Okay. Practice problem. Calculate the area of a rectangle. Write a JavaScript program that defines variable length. Okay, I don't know about functions yet. Oh, or operators. So I don't know about operators or functions yet. Try again. Displaying a message. Define a variable and then display it. That seems like a fair practice problem. So create a JavaScript program that defines a variable message and assigns it a string value, then log that value. But it has given you Well, it's giving me the answer, not just a template. This would be an answer. But let's do it. Console.log message. That's a great chart. Okay. I would say I'm going to keep working with this. Actually, one thing that would be nice is to just try out a prompt in here. So give me a minute. Let me go grab a prompt. I'm going to grab a prompt inside my course. So this is a community that I have started on School. And inside of this, we have a couple of courses I'm developing, one on prompt engineering for learning and basic JavaScript. Here is the lessons on primitive data types and variables inside of this course. And in here, all the way at the bottom, I have a very elaborate prompt that I can copy that I have used with ChatGPT and developed it with ChatGPT. And let's see how it does with this prompt. I'm going to go here and I'm just going to paste my entire prompt in there and see what it does. Okay, this prompt tells it to ask me my personal interests outside of coding so that it can give me examples and practice problems having to do with my personal interest. It's just a good learning tool to work with materials or content that you're already familiar and comfortable with when you're trying to learn something. So I'm going to say that I'm super interested in gardening, flowers, and food garden. Okay, that's wonderful. Let's tailor practice problems to your interest in gardening. Practice problem number 1, favorite flower. Write a variable named favorite flower and using let or const and assign you a string naming your favorite flower in your garden. Once you give it a try, let me know your answer as we can move on to the next problem. Okay, so let me take a look at the prompt. Oh yeah, so this prompt is written only to provide practice problems. It's not written for teaching or for explanations. So yeah, this is just going to generate practice problems. So I wonder if can I do it in here? Let's see what happens if I do it in here. Let's type our prompt in here. I kind of would like to work right in here. Try reassign the prompt. No, that did not work. Accept. Okay. That was worth a try. So inside this chat, I'm going to need to code in. Well, what I could do is actually just write the code over here. I'm going to delete what's already here and just start. So here's my JavaScript file. And I'm going to declare a variable for my favorite flower now. Is my favorite flower changeable? Could it change? It absolutely could, I think. So I'm going to use let because this is a value that could change in the future. It is not set in stone, like maybe the date that something was published or something that happened already in the past. Let favorite flower, and it's trying to autocomplete into an array. Don't know why, but I'm going to accept Lily. That's a nice flower. And that's it. It's just asking me to declare my favorite flower. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type the answer into the chat. And now, since I've done this correctly, it should give me a slightly harder problem. Okay, let's continue with another practice problem related to your interests. Number of vegetables. So create a variable called number of vegetables using let or const and assign it a numeric value representing the number of different vegetables you plan to grow in your food garden. Let's go here and it's going to change. And I want to assign it a numeric. I have a small garden, so let's say and if there was a console log or anything, I could run this, but I'm just going to type it, paste it over here. And great job. It says you created a number of vegetables and gave a numeric value. Let's make a mistake now. Garden area. So create garden area. And let's use const this time. And oops. assign a numeric value representing the area in square feet. Let's say 10 square feet. Oh, but we're going to make an error. So let's make this a string 10 instead of a number 10. And let's see if it will correct me. So it looks like there might be a small issue with the variable garden area. Since the value represents a numeric measurement, using const keyword with a string value might not allow for reassignment later. To ensure flexibility for any potential changes in the garden area, you want to use let. Good. And then here's a revised variable declaration. With this change, the variable, so it only caught the first issue. It didn't tell me that my number was actually a string. So let's see, if we change this to let and we give it the string, let's see if it'll catch that next issue. Aha, yeah. So it's a string value. So either I have to alter the prompt to make sure that it can tell me what is wrong with what I've done, like any errors that I make, but it has to be able to give me more than one error at a time. Because of course we can make more than one mistake at a time. Or, let's see, if I come back to the prompt evaluation, and here I would have to put something about that. But I would say very good, very straightforward. It is able to read the prompt and deliver good examples. Let's try harder examples. So I believe that it can give me type of and console log. Garden budget, yes. So here it's going to ask me to use type of. So it can scale up to slightly harder problems, even though right now we're only working with a very limited amount of knowledge that we would be practicing. So it's instructed not to give me things like operators, conditionals, functions, stuff that we haven't, arrays, objects, stuff we haven't studied yet, right? Yeah. And so these prompts that I've developed are very particular and very long, and it took me a long time to come up with them, even with the AI, believe it or not, which did assist me. And that, my friends, is Codeium, as inside the chat as a JavaScript tutor. Not bad. I want to come in here and see if I can now use. I'm going to come in here and try to use there. Make a class to create person objects. And then I have to accept the changes, which is nice. They have name, age, weight, height, and gender. Okay. Let's see. How far can it go? Create a simple algo, calculator algo that takes in two nums. See what it does. To create the functions for the different arithmetic operations, but what I wanted was a function that ran these functions. Let's accept though. So it looks like it can. Can read the code up above, so it has the context. Okay. Yep, that's what I was looking for. Okay. So let's tab to accept this. So here are the different functions for adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing two different numbers. And then we have a function called operate, which is, I would call it calculator, but it takes in the two numbers and then the name of the operator. So if the operator is add the numbers, then it will add. It'll feed those two numbers to the add function and return them. Let's see if I can rework this operate. can it change? No, it just created an outer wrapper function. Okay. My instructions were not clear. And can I go to the HTML body? With about and animals pages. If we go over here, we'll be able to see our navigation. So let's go to the CSS and see if we can see what that looks like. Oh, I have to accept it. There it is. Nice. Let's comment this out and see what it used to look like. As far as my navigation. So it can read your entire file, and that's cool. It's very cool. All right, I'm going to sign off. This has been a long video. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining me today in this demo of Codeium. It was fun to try it out. I will definitely be working with it a little bit more as we go through. And it's cool to have an open source alternative to code completion inside of your code editor. Take care, everyone, and let's keep coding together.